Hey y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and today I'm doing a live stream. It's my composition looks terrible. Oh look, Gmail just told me I'm live. Let me fix this right here. Get this kind of squared up a little bit. There. I can't really fix this except by adjusting the distance. Hey, that helped. Now, how y'all doing today? And today, what I want to talk about, photography gear. I just wanted to have a kind of a general discussion on what kind of equipment you think you need to take good pictures. You know, hey, how y'all doing this evening? I better have chat enabled. That's going to be really frustrating if I didn't. But what I was just going to chat about this evening was, the gear we feel like we need and the gear that we really need, and what we've got to do with our photography, the equipment we buy that necessarily doesn't really bring that much to the table. I bought this giant behemoth and I've used it probably 4 times. It's a whole bunch of lens, but good Lord, it was about $1,500, or thereabouts. Good evening. How you doing? Oh, it's pretty late in London. Wow. I'm not sure what time it is there, but it's at least 11:30, if I'm guessing right. Thank you for checking in. Appreciate you being here tonight. But yeah, we've got all this equipment. I think I kind of like to say we're drowning in a sea of equipment, and it just doesn't make us better photographers. It just makes us better gear collectors. Because I've got all these little widgets. I've got this SB700. This thing, and it works really well. I've used it a few times. I actually have used this and a few more than most of my other equipment. I struggle with flash photography. I like to use studio lights, but with speed lights, it's just a lot harder to get the light right because they're so small. You got such a concentrated source of light. Once you diffuse it or you spread it out on something, it's very weak then compared to a studio strobe. But, you do with what you have. I take this one when we go out in the woods, like if I'm trying to light the kids rock climbing. They'll be under a ledge or up next to a rock face or something like that. And this thing will actually put some light, and I'll shoot it like into a crag, or I bounce it off the rock and kind of get some side lighting with it a lot of times. Try not to hit them directly face on with it, but this thing works really well for that. But I haven't probably gotten it out of the camera bag in 6 months. Matter of fact, has it still got batteries in it? Yeah, it's full of batteries. A lot of times I'll pull the batteries out of them so they won't corrode. They're dead. That's a pretty good sign. But I got the D850 and I took the battery grip off of it because it just makes it huge. I mean, once you add this on there, that camera gets enormous. And it's still a big machine without the battery grip, but you drop this battery grip on here, get this line back up. Let's see. Oh, don't have the connector lined up right. There we go. Wow, there it goes. If you get it lined up right, it'll go on pretty easy. The battery in the tray. This one is a Vivitar. I don't know if the official Nikon ones have 2 batteries in the tray, but the Vivitar aftermarket one has 1 battery in the grip tray, and then you can get one in the camera itself. And so you can run 2 batteries at once. Yeah, there we go. And that gives you, let's see if you can see it. It's showing BP on the display, which means battery pack, Ticker says, because I'm into street photography, do I worry about, let me get the, is being inconspicuous important to me? Somewhat, it really is. But I've noticed that even with even if I carry that little Minolta X700 film camera, as small as it is, it's still a camera, and people still see me messing with it, and you really can't get away from that. You see these guys get these little Fuji X100s, the little tiny built-in lens ones, and it doesn't seem to. Hey, there's Long Rider. Quick note: bass angler probably won't be here tonight. He said he was mowing the yard, but that whole ideology of not being noticed, yeah, it works to some degree, but with a camera this big, it does stand out. You kind of look like you're, a pro. I mean, and people they think you're getting paid to take your recreational photos, and so they look at you with disdain if you're out there with a really large camera. I have seen that. So the XT3 works pretty good for that because it has that nostalgic kind of look to it. So most of the questions I get about that camera is they actually ask if it's a film camera. One, that's the number one question I get about the XT3 is if it's a film camera. And number two, what did the picture look like? So that's the normal questions I get with my XT3. Like the other day I posted a video, where I grabbed a few street photos down by the choo-choo, and one of them was a couple of people holding umbrellas. It was a couple, and they had their umbrellas, and I just picked up the camera and played the focus just enough to get him in and fired the frame. He ain't in perfect focus, but he's close. It looks pretty good. And I was just showing them the lens that I had gotten, giving them an idea about that little 55 millimeter lens, and they were all excited to see the picture. The girl complained because her mouth was open, but other than that, it was a bigger deal to me, but I wouldn't want to carry this one shooting street photos because it's so heavy. I mean, this particular setup probably weighs double currently of what the XT3 weighs that I'm carrying. It's pretty heavy. There's a lot going on here. Hello, Alonzo. Thank you for checking in. Thank you. Appreciate your comment. But that street photography thing is its own animal. You get and it seems that certain cities have less, what's the right word? They don't care, whatever that word is. There's apparently a lot of street photography happens. Like when we was in Philadelphia, nobody cared. We took pictures of all sorts of stuff, and nobody even gave us a second look. But you go to Chattanooga, and you'll get looks. People will ask you, well, why are you taking my picture? They're actually genuinely concerned. It's not so common in Chattanooga. It's like when the population exceeds 1 million people in the city. Apparently, there's some kind of ratio that once it gets to that point, apparently the population density is big enough. It just doesn't seem to bother people anymore. I prefer the ergonomics of my Nikon. Nobody cares in London. So yeah, London's I'm not sure how many people live in London, but it's enormous. And if you factor in all of the, what do y'all call the suburbs in London? Is that boroughs? I think. If you factor all of those people into that equation, that's a lot of people. It's like Atlanta's 3 million people, or 2 million. The bulk of the people in Georgia live in Atlanta, almost all of them. It's shocking how few live outside of Atlanta. There's like 3.8 million people in Georgia, and like 2.8 or 9 million of them are in Atlanta, in the greater metro area. And down there, Evan Ranth goes and shoots street photos once a week or once every few days, and nobody knows. Nobody cares. See, London's got 7+ million people in it. Wow. And I see lots of videos about photographers going to shoot street photography in London. Who's the guy that has the Streets of London series? Those are really interesting videos. I like watching his videos. He's a young guy. I don't remember his name, but I followed him or subscribed to his channel. It's real. I watch those as I get opportunity, and then the fella who does Samuel L's Street Life, I think is his channel name. I like his street photography. He went to London a time or two. I like to watch him, which some of the guys he goes and shoots street with, they're kind of provocative. Hey Maxim, how you doing? Thank you for checking in. I appreciate you coming by. Now I did post this on my feed or whatever it's called on YouTube with a notice a few hours ago, so I didn't really get like many days advance warning. But yeah, I was just throwing some ideas around about, you know, equipment and things. You know, how about these wireless radio triggers? These things are really nice. They're kind of complicated to figure out. Yeah, I've got the batteries out of this one currently, so it won't rust, so they won't corrode. But these work really well with my D810. They're Flashpoint brand. I don't remember who makes Flashpoint brand, but it's a good little receiver and transmitter duo. I have Pocket Wizard Series X radios, and they don't work all that great. This thing works a lot better. I can actually control the power output of my speed light with this transmitter receiver combo. I can actually go on the little display and plug all that data in here and control the speed light from my camera. Pretty sweet. Don't have to go, like I got it built into a little portable softbox that I put the speed line in. Once you get it all built up in there, it's kind of a pain to go in there and change the settings. This thing will adjust the settings. It's pretty nice. I've done a couple of senior portrait shoots. I like doing senior portraits. I don't like doing weddings, but senior portraits are kind of fun. They're a little more relaxed. But yeah, I've done a couple of those shoots with these, and it works really well. Yeah, Tech Assist says they look similar to the Godox, and Maxim saying Adorama house brand is Flashpoint. I'm not sure if it is or not. I got it off of Amazon, but I think they're Godox knockoffs. I really do. But it works. It works really well. This one's the transmitter, I think. It says R2, which I thought to be receiver, but it's got a T on it. One goes on the camera, and I think this is the one that goes on the camera because it's got the hot shoe. So that'd be the transmitter. But the other one's in the camera bag. But yeah, I've used them just a handful of times, to the point that I have to, when I put batteries in them to use them, I have to play with them to figure out how they work so that I can get what I need to do with them done. It's sad, but it's true. But we buy all this equipment, and it piles up on shelves, and it fills cabinets, and we end up getting our favorite camera and lens and going out with that and shooting with it. Yes, I do use my speed light off camera quite a bit, actually. If I shoot it on camera, I almost exclusively, like on this, I run it on the D810, but I'll shoot it either straight up at the ceiling like that, or I normally shoot it at the wall. I try to get bounce light off the wall and crack it just a little bit. We never shoot anything, you know that? Yeah, oh, I am. Because we're too busy talking about gear instead of using it. Oh, yeah, there's some truth in that too, I think. But yeah, you know, I try never to shoot the flash straight on. I mean, it works, but it looks like snapshots then. I always try to hit the wall or, you know, or hit the ceiling with it. You need a new piece of crap Canon. Auto AI bounce for you. I saw that one. Oh, Long Rider's jumping all the way to the bottom right off the chute. Them pal mals, huh? Amar may not know what them are. I don't know if he smokes. I saw that one. That fancy Canon flash he's bringing up, that it automatically moves the head. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I haven't shot with this thing. Amar only knows me by my stage name, Master G. Oh. Maybe, hey, Amar, maybe it's G Money. He only smoked a competition. But I haven't used this thing since the last senior portraits I shot with it, and that day I didn't shoot it with the flash on the camera. I shot it with that radio. Yes. Maxim asked me, did I like the Lightroom instructional tour they did Monday night? And yes, it was a great video. I wished I could have seen the very beginning. I was kind of late to the party. I logged in and he was working out some problems with the stream, and then I had to step away and go take care of some stuff right quick. I had a turning center running down in the machine shop, and I had to run down and turn it off and park it, shut it all off. And when I got back, y'all had already gotten to the point to where you had stitched the files and you hadn't cropped it yet. You had just finished stitching the files. That's why he wears a G-string. That was a visual I didn't need. But yeah, that was a really interesting video. The fact that you took a 6D or a 6D Mark II and made a 180 megapixel image out of it. Easily made a 180 megapixel image, and could have made a bigger one had you wanted to, because if I'm right, the size is unlimited when you stitch images. Long Rider was fully naked in the beginning of the video. Don't need no GFX. Yeah, I got a video about that coming up for long. You don't. Ooh, he collects G-strings as trophies. Yeah, but from what bar? There's two conversations running in parallel in these comments right now. Yeah, Maxim is saying your computer has to be able to handle the work from stitching the frames, because once you get done stitching it together, it's a very large file. And rendering that file after you do edits can get to where it's using a lot of processor power to do that. I ran into that wall pretty quickly with my MacBook Pro. I have a 2015 MacBook Pro. That's the one that in the video the battery catches fire where I'm prying it out with a screwdriver. But I got a new battery in it, and it works, but it's slow. When you're trying to work files today, it struggles to keep up. So I've got a PC that I'm currently doing video editing and photo editing in the house on. It's actually a pretty nice little machine. I don't remember the brand. It's some kind of gaming computer. You buy it as a package. It's already got pretty nice stuff in it. It ain't the hot roddedest gear, but it's fairly nice. It works. It actually works better than the Mac, you know. I got to back up some comments here. There's some stuff going by that I'm sure is hilarious. Let's see here. Canon sucks, and they always cheat you and cripple the cameras and cripple you and cripple the whole world. Oh, I've tried to do 3 bracket frames stitched of that image, made the computer choke, gave up. The computer couldn't handle it. The Canon bar. Oh yeah, we need to get Casey in here and the Canon cripple hammer. I'm entitled to a free computer with a new camera every time. Do we get to use the entitled word? We can be entitled? But yeah, that's the only real hold up in all reality, because if you can stitch the images, then it doesn't really matter. The 2015 MacBook Pro. That's probably why it don't work right. The onboard camera probably is a Sony sensor. It wouldn't surprise me. I used that computer for 4 years without really any issue. It's just that once I started editing a lot of video on it, God help you if you did anything with a graphic or an animation, it just shut it down. It couldn't take it. Like that, the DaVinci Resolve has a built-in section called Fusion. I think it's their version of special effects. It allows you to do the little tracker where you can pull a line out and it has a word and it'll track the item around on the screen. They can do all that in that Fusion panel, but if I use that Fusion panel, it'll completely shut down that 2015 MacBook Pro. Just the least little bitty, like if you just have some fancy text that kind of revolves or something, it's done. It can't take it. You have to export that image as a video clip and get it out of that whole Fusion section, and then bring that video clip back in as a .mov file before it'll even operate. I mean, it'll drop frames down to 4 or 5. It'll be terrible. It'll start skipping frames like mad. It just can't handle it. This other computer, it runs okay with that sort of thing. It can handle 3 or 4 of them, but if you get much past that, you really need to render it out and bring it back in as a video and get it out of that whole editing thing. Master's thinking about what to say about Sony next. Oh. Speaking of Sony, what is it with them borrowing Canon's cripple hammer and crippling their new cameras? Have y'all seen that? It's like, we're going to release the new little bitty APS-C cameras and change the model names, and that's all. We didn't do anything else. Just change the model names. Oh no. Amar says, you actually edit your video in Canon. We don't edit. We take it straight out of the camera and put it up. You must really have a shady camera. Oh, Sony got spanked by Fuji. I shoot a little footage with my Fuji X-T3, but not much. Mainly because I have to shoot off a tripod. It don't have any kind of IS. The lens has a little, but it's still, I mean, you have to use all the handheld tricks. I would need a glide cam or a gimbal, or what I do is I shoot off tripod. Do either static shots or slow pans with a tripod, but that's all I can really do with it, just because of the shakiness of the footage. And if you use warp stabilizer, you can do it with that and get by, but I shoot most of my videos with my GoPro Hero 7. That thing shoots a really good video. It don't shoot good photos. The photos are terrible, but the video is great. I like that little camera. It's lightweight, small. It's got a good output. I mean, once you turn on that, what do they call it? It ain't pro mode, but it's basically some kind of pro mode. I don't remember what they call it. But once you enable ProTune, you can go in, you can actually adjust the ISO and the shutter speed, and so you can go in and set it to 148 and 24 frames, and then you can pick your ISO. It'll have a minimum and a maximum, and I'll set them both with the same number, and that locks the ISO, and then I can basically light the scene, unlike what this phone's doing. I'm using my iPhone for the live stream. Well, the iPhone does auto exposure control. So I don't have any control over the exposure with the phone. And for a live stream, it won't let me. I would have to do it piping it into a computer or something with a you know, with my XT3 probably if I wanted to have all that. But with the GoPro, you have those functions. You can control them so I can light the video any way I want. That's how I get the dark backgrounds. A lot of those videos are shot in the afternoon, like right now. You see all that light coming in that window right there? I just turn down the ISO until that is dark, and I'll cut on that light for a backlight to give it kind of some separation because of this wall right here. And then I'll put a light right off camera right here, and typically I'll have another one right here filling in this shadow because I don't like the whole half face illuminated thing. So I have a little bitty light that's on this side of the camera that's filling in a little bit of light. Then there's the cuckoo clock. Yes, it's gonna strike, it's gonna cuckoo the wrong number of times. That's 3. I think it's gonna do 4, 5, 6, 7. See, it should stop now. 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 4 hours off. I really need to fix that. It's been like that for months. I just don't never remember to do it. Maybe I'll do it after the stream tonight. The one that's over here, this parlor clock you see, just peeking into the frame right here. That one, I've had that one since 1991, and I have to wind it every 30 days. It's got a 40-day spring in it, but that one is actually right, and it keeps time. In the summer, it runs 2 minutes slow, and in the winter, it runs 2 minutes fast, and in the fall and spring, it holds a good time. And that's normal circumstances for winter and summer. You'll run a little fast in the winter, a little slow in the summer, because in the winter, all the parts shrink slightly, so there's a little more play, and everything will run. There it goes. It'll strike correctly. It's actually a little fast right now because I moved it and I adjusted it the other day when I wound it. Let's see. So Max says he's trying to rent a 16 to 80 f4 Fujinon to take to Canada with me as my camera on the car seat camera. I don't know if it'll make it in time or not. Okay, guys, I'm out. I need to plan out the video for tonight. Don't forget to watch. David, this video is gonna be epic. You don't. Oh boy, does that mean the Canon cripple hammer is gonna be in it? I'll watch it. I'll be there, dude. Once I put my foot up, let me rest my foot tonight. I'll veg out on YouTube, and yours will be one of them. Good evening. Thanks for checking in, Amar. Appreciate it. Is that new, that 16 to 80, is that new Fujinon lens that Fuji came out with? That's going to be like their new kit lens that everybody's talking about? It's just got released. Yeah, I thought that was it. That looks like a really promising lens. Yeah, I like the size range, which for the longest, when I had my D7000, I had the 18 to 200. It's a little variable aperture zoom. APS-C Nikon lens. I ran that lens for a year and never took it off the camera. Great little lens for just general photography. I only had, back then, I had that lens, the 35 f1.8 APS-C lens, and that 24 millimeter AIS, which is terrible. It's pretty bad. I never used it because it had such bad chromatic aberration. I mean, it's purple fringing to the end of the world. It's supposed to be out on the 23rd, but sometimes lens rental gets shipments early. Oh, yeah. Sweet. Yeah, I'm trying to go minimalist this time. I'm planning for a trip coming up. Leaving on the 20th. Ooh. Sure, that's in 16 days. Okay. What part of Canada are you going to? I'm trying to pare back my stuff I'm going to carry on my next trip. Nova Scotia. That's kind of where we went. We went to St. John's, right up on the. We went up Maine and then crossed over and went to St. John. Okay, yeah, that's a beautiful area up there. You gonna go to that place where the book Anne of Green Gables is written? What's that? What's that island? Prince Edward Island, is it? I don't remember. I know where the Nova Scotia is. It's in its own time zone. It's actually in Atlantic time. It's interesting. Okay, yeah. That's a beautiful area. It won't matter. The grizzly's going to get you. We'll never see the pictures. But it's a Fuji. He can Wi-Fi them to his phone and post them immediately. Ask me how I know. I really like the. I've learned how to finally set the color adjustments, not color adjustments, the base edit adjustments in the camera. I figured out the shadows and the highlight adjustment, the saturations, all those little functions in the camera through the quick menu. And I've set me up 3 or 4 profiles so that I can switch to black and white, to classic chrome, you know, things like that in that quick menu, because you just go down Q, go over to the grid in the top upper corner. That's the one that comes up on anyway. And then I can just run the thumb wheel and then cycle through them. And I've renamed them so I can see the names of them. It works out really well. Let me see. Yeah, let's see here. If I hit the Q button right here, you can see it automatically. Woo, buddy. Like I said, iPhone wants to adjust its own. That says currently C2 base. But if I run this thumb wheel, you can't really tell. It's hard to see it. You can see up here at the top, it says Fuji lens. That's my only Fujinon lens. I have the kit lens, so the one that's on it. So that's my settings to run that lens. That'll be color profiles. That won't be black and white. And then I have manual street lens, or street mode. And then C3 is black and white mode. And you can kind of see it. It says it's coming in, but it says it right there. But if I run this hand wheel, you can see the names come up where you can then change the names. That one just says select because I haven't used them all. I got chrome, black and white, manual street, and Fuji. Those are the 4 I have programmed into it currently. And it automatically sets, you know, all these values across the bottom. Whoops. Yeah. Yeah, I could make an adjustment here. How about we cancel that? There. But yeah, it is a touch screen, so it will do stuff if you touch it. Uh-oh. No, but yeah, each of these is like, it's currently on color. I have the color increased 1, which is saturation basically. Sharpness is up 2. The shadows are +2. The highlights are +0. They're 0. Noise reduction is +1. And then I save that as my JPEG. That's for the one marked color, which is C2. And that gives me basically what I would do to them if I took them out of the camera and then post-processed them in a piece of software. And I'm also, most of the time I write duplicity or whatever that word is, because I write a RAW file as well as that modified JPEG straight out of the camera. And then I can go to the Wi-Fi function and just send it straight over to my phone. I've got the app, and the app works okay. It's kind of slow, but I can pull the images straight off of the camera into my iPhone. I can even pull video footage out of here, and it'll transfer it. It transfers it slow. For whatever reason, it transfers it so slow, but it'll transfer it. But yeah, I really like that about this little Fujinon. Been running a milling machine all day. Should have took a picture of what I made. Max, you have the Canon and the Fujinon app both. Yeah, I used to have the Nikon app, but I deleted it. It was just terrible. I'll just be honest with you. I couldn't get no joy out of that Nikon app. I just never could make it work right, so I just pulled it off. The Sony app works, yeah, okay. I have it too, which I haven't used it since they updated it. And I haven't updated the firmware of my A7 II because I hardly ever use it. So I don't know if it works better now or not. I noticed they changed the app badge. It's different now. But that Fuji app works really well though. I really like it. I have taken a few photos with the app, and the camera control function seems to work pretty well with it too. The GoPro app works really good. I use it routinely. I use it a lot because what I'll do is I'll turn my iPhone into a monitor so I can compose the frame, and then I can start and stop the camera with my phone. So I'll use it fairly often with my when I'm filming with my GoPro. Yeah. I made me a battery pack. I wonder if this would make it through the TSA checkpoint. I ordered the little circuit board that has the charger and the charging circuit in it, plus it has the digital display. And it has two USB charge ports. One's a 1 amp, one's a 2.1 amp. I've currently got it plugged into the 1 amp, trying to just let this trickle charge into the phone to keep it from going dead during the live stream. But it's 4 supposedly 10,000 milliamp hour batteries. Yeah, looks more like a little small bomb. Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, you think this will make it through TSA? Probably not a good idea to fly with this one. So I use it I'll ride it around in my camera bag in the truck and use it here and there for different things. Like if I'm going to do what do you call it? Not long exposure, time lapse. If I use a time lapse on my iPhone, I use this because the time lapse in an iPhone, it really is a really good time lapse. It works really well. I don't go to the trouble, for me, of doing like the slow shutter speed time lapses where you get the motion blur, that kind of hyperlapse look. I just want the time lapse for the sake of a time lapse most of the times. But the iPhone works really well for that, and I'll power it with this guy, or I'll power my GoPro with it. You can USB-C charge a GoPro, and this will feed straight into it. But yeah, I made that up. I got like, I think there's almost $10 in this. And it works really well. It's like 40,000 milliamp hour capacity. And it's just 4 batteries soldered in parallel and the little circuit board from eBay. And I put heat shrink tubing over the circuit board so it don't short anything out. And just opened it up where it needed to be cut out just so I could get to it. And that's it. The wires for the battery pack, the hot wire comes out one end and the ground wire comes out the other, and it just goes down to them. There's not much going on here, but yeah. But I was running a grinder while I was running the mill today, and I've got grinding grit on my nose, and I can feel it getting under my glasses, and it's scratching my nose, bugging me. I have to have them to be able to read. This light is a motion detector night light. If you've never had one of those, worth it. You come stumbling through the house in the middle of the night, and it just turns on, lights up the room so you don't break your toe on the corner table. I just seen it come on. Apparently it'll come on in the daytime. But circling back around, I wonder at times if I should sell most of this hardware that I don't ever use, because I seriously haven't used this lens in probably 6 months. I think I took it to Hawaii, and I took photos over there with it. I'll photograph surfers when I go to Hawaii, and I use this to do that. I'll rack it out to 500, and then I'll put the 1.4x teleconverter on it, which makes it about a 750, and then I'll shoot it on the D810, and I can get fairly good photos. You know, it's a 750 millimeter f8 at that point, because it's an f5.6 lens, you know, and you lose that stop adding that teleconverter. But in broad daylight, f8 ain't a problem, and it gives you a little more depth focus anyway, and you kind of need that. But other than that, it lays in the camera case, and I never use it. I did get it out for one of my videos, and I took flower photos with it at like 20 feet away. This thing has incredible bokeh. If you wanted to shoot portraits of somebody and blow out the background, this lens has incredible background separation capabilities. It's just big and bulky and heavy as crap. But it does have image stabilization. You know, it's got VR, Nikon's version of image stabilization. I forgot I did have that lens. That means I got at least 2 lenses of VR. I forgot about that one. I knew I had the 70 to 200 over there, but another lens I don't use near as much as I used to. I used to use the 70 to 200 a good bit, but now it just kind of lingers in the camera bag. It's like I've been moving to smaller, lighter lenses, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of light gathering capability, you know. I don't have to have an f2.8 200 millimeter to be happy. I've got a f4 manual focus 200 mil that takes beautiful photos. Max says I have never owned a 70 to 200 lens that the whole world owns. I do have a consumer 70 to 300 is pretty good. Look at this. The ambiguous 70 to 200 VR. This is what I always called the Gen 1. I bought this one after the Gen 2 lenses that came out. I got this one. I have the tripod foot. It's in there. It came in the little Velcro nylon case, and it had the foot on it. And I pulled the foot because I never run the tripod foot with these. If I tripod mounted, it's got the stud anyway, so the foot just gets in my way, so I pulled it off. But this lens is really nice, but it is fairly heavy. Maxim says he's a big believer in f4 lenses, not paying for big apertures if you never use them. And that's the truth. This lens is beautiful, wide open. And the only reason I got this lens was I was shooting a lot of indoor rock climbing with my daughter, and those gems are lit terribly. They're just so dim. They look bright when you look at them, but your eyes are apparently dilated, so it's misleading. The camera will tell you a very different story. When it's showing you, you know, when you're running f2.8 and you're trying to run, you know, 125 ISO and it's wanting to run 1/30th of a second shutter speeds, it's a little dark. So, you know, the f2.8's a big help there. I'll shoot it wide open in those gems. But other than that, I took my nephew's senior portrait with it when he was in high school out here in front of the house. Literally a 5-minute photo shoot. He was needing a photo so he could do the little bitty thumbnail size pictures, what they used to call wallets. He was wanting to put those in with the invitation to his graduation. So he needed a photo to do that with. So I went outside right here in front of the house and throwed it to f2.8, shot his portrait standing up, got me an image. You know, the background's nice and blowed out, and he's got his little suit and tie on. I used it for that, and I haven't even used it on the senior portrait shoots. I used the 85 f1.8 I bought, and I use the 60 millimeter. I like the 60 mil really good, prime, and that's about it. I take this one, but I normally don't get it out because a lot of times you're just too close. They don't want headshots. They want those environmental images anyway. So this is kind of overkill. And I like the lens. It's a great working lens, but I hardly ever use it. You're right. There's no value in it if you don't get it out and make images with it. Why? Um, I really should probably sell this lens because I don't use it. I could probably amass enough money just parting with gear I never use to buy 2 more Fuji cameras. Maybe more. Did y'all see that? Excuse me. But Amar and Max did a good live stream. Was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday, wasn't it? It was the day before yesterday. It was a great live stream. It pointed out a very, very valuable lesson, and that was that if you need high megapixel images, you don't have to buy an expensive camera to do it. You don't even have to rent one. You don't need it at all. It's wholly unnecessary. The cameras of today have more than enough resolution to get enormous image files. It was Monday, yeah. Excellent live stream. I wished I could have seen it from the beginning. But I wasn't too far in. Like I said, I was there you hadn't cropped it yet. I had seen it. You had just gotten through doing something to it, but when you zoomed out, it wasn't square, and you had to trim it to make it square. And that was where I started watching. Okay, cool. I'll go over and watch his video tonight, and I'll probably watch the first of that live stream to see what I missed. I do the same thing. I post all of mine too. Ain't no point in throwing them away. So there is nuggets here and there of information that people can use. But yeah, this gear fetish that we have, we really, I don't know, I guess since the beginning, photographers have always been kind of tech guys or gadget guys, if you want to call us that. And we've always gathered, and accumulated stuff. Like right now, this video setup we're shooting on is literally an iPhone X and a little Manfrotto springy iPhone holder on a Arca Swiss mount stuck on an Arca Swiss base that's on my Manfrotto B-free tripod that I've got rigged up so that I can get the elevation right and get this thing sitting still. And then right off camera over here, while my hand's blown out because of the wonderful world of iPhone exposure compensation, is a LED panel light to light me up some so I can be better illuminated. And then there's a table right behind me, and all that gear I've been talking about, I've got laying on that table so I can just reach and get it as I need it. But I've got all this rig set up. I could get by with, a little cheap tripod and screw the little iPhone holder straight on it. I don't have to go from iPhone to springy mount to Arca Swiss to Manfrotto plate. See, I've got the Arca Swiss adapter on the Manfrotto plate because Manfrotto plates are unicorn's teeth. And I wanted to be able to have the Arca Swiss mounts ever since last year? Yeah, it was last October when we did that fall color photo kind of excursion where I met those photographers from Indianapolis up in Pigeon Forge. They turned me on to that whole Arca Swiss thing. Up to that point, I had never really looked at it. But he had them on all his gear, and I seen the value in it. It's universal. Didn't matter whose tripod you grabbed, your mount fit it. And I really like that because Jen had one brand tripod. Aaron had a different tripod. I had this Manfrotto tripod. Of course, I only have the one Manfrotto plate that came with the tripod. So I was having to take it off of this camera, put it on this camera, to move it, to switch cameras. And he gave me an Arca Swiss mount and a base that you could screw on and said, here, just put this on your tripod and try it for the weekend. I came home and then promptly ordered them for all of my tripods. They're everywhere. I've got these little Arca Swiss bases on everything. Even my GoPro has an Arca Swiss mount on it now. Yeah, look here. I'll be right back. Now, I am kind of Gucci when it comes to my tripods. I like Manfrotto tripods. I'll just tell you the truth. See, this is a little Manfrotto. They call this a Pixie. I think it's a Pixie 2, just to be honest with you. But you can see, I've added the Arca Swiss base with the level because this won't level the shot automatically. But what I'll do, it's on because I've been charging it and downloading files. I can actually download the files from my GoPro straight into that Windows machine, and the Mac, it was a real pain in the neck. You can plug into this USB-C port here, and it'll actually read through into the camera. You just have to turn it on, but that's real handy. It's a lot easier on a PC to get the video out of this than it was on my Mac, just long story short. But yeah, I made this base out of a piece of plate aluminum. Loosen it up here. But that way I can take this off, and I have a machined aluminum iPhone mount that has the Arca Swiss base milled into that base. It's a little fold out feet on the top and bottom, and when you fold down the bottom feet, it's grooved for an Arca Swiss. So I can stick my iPhone on this tripod immediately. That was one of the reasons I like that. Then I made this little bracket, and if I get it out of the direct light of that thing, you can see I just milled out a sub pocket. I've drilled me 2 pass-through holes. One if I want to mount the camera directly in the center. This one's mounting it off center, so I can add this plate or this bar, bolted it on, because that's just 1/4 as well. And then I made me a screw nut so I can put my little light. This little light was like 15 bucks on Amazon, and it's got these little magnetic gel deals. You know, it's got the diffuse light, and if you want to put the daylight one on it, you just stick it on. You know, it's pretty. It's a Rotolight knockoff. It's not a Rotolight. This isn't. No, don't pigeonhole Rotolight with this bad boy. But it comes with a little rechargeable battery, and you recharge it through USB. It's got a little micro USB port right here to charge this battery. And if that battery goes dead, oh, you went there. Oh, that was low. I was gonna put up with the Canon. Woo, that one was below the belt. Oh, that hurt. I have to catch my breath on that one. It's square. There's no little red logo in the middle. But yeah, I just cut all this out on the lathe. It made me a little wing nut where I can adjust the angle of the light and then snug this back down. So, you know, if you want to get it to where, depending on how you want to set the light up, you want to bounce it off a wall or spin it around, hit you with it, whatever, you know. And it works really good. And this allows me to, like if I'm outside, I've learned that the background will overpower the camera. Like if I'm not to where my face is toward the light, the sun, then you don't get good exposure. But I can fire this little bad boy up, you know, and outside, you know, and it's adjustable. You can dim it down, you know. But, well, I got it turned all the way to 0. It'll go all the way off, but yeah, and then it gets brighter. And it's real handy. I can use it for fill light, and it saves me from having to chase my tail in post-processing in DaVinci trying to bring up the shadows to bring my face out of the shadows. It just helps. And Mike looks like a satellite dish. I know. I get lots of comments about this out in the world if I'm out vlogging in like Chattanooga or somewhere. People say, well, what's that thing on top? But yeah, it's just a simple little deal. And I've got the Arca Swiss base built in there so that I can rig it up. But it's kind of evolved from the beginning. I really like this particular Manfrotto Pixie because the legs will adjust out some, and that allows you to work with uneven terrain somewhat. But I use this this camera I use as much as the Fuji. I use it a lot. I film with it all the time. It's surprising how much footage I capture that I never use. You know, like this plastic housing gets IBIS and Frodo sucks. Oh, you mean IBIS brand tripods? This one's a good one. I like their ball heads. Their ball heads work really well. They have real good. The friction system in them is really magical. I don't know what they're doing in there, but man, that thing, it's incredible, you know. And then just a couple of turns, and then it's a really well designed lock. I don't know what they're doing in these ball heads, but man, they work good. I have real good performance out of that. But it doesn't have, it's just a screw-on 1/4-20 stud right here, so I just screwed the Arca Swiss base straight to it. And then, like I said, I put the level on it, because then I'll set it up. Even if I set it on something that's slightly out, I'll just break this loose, level the camera, shoot my footage. Works great. Oh, look. Oh, crap. Sorry. James Oliver says, don't sell your gear unless you need the scratch. You never know when you'll wander back to it. That's true, too. If you could see the cabinet that's right over there, though, that has probably 50 lenses in it. You know all those lens reviews I do? I own all those lenses. All of them. And I still have them all. Even the one I threw over my shoulder, it's out in the shed where I was filming out there. I had a little shelf with some vintage camera junk on it for props. It's on that shelf. I still have that lens. It still works. It don't work right, but it still works. It's the focus makes damage on it after we threw it, but it doesn't matter. I got nothing in it. But these, yeah, all them lenses, and there's a bunch over there that I haven't reviewed yet that are just kind of waiting in the wings. I'll pick them up off eBay for nothing, like the 55mm f1.8 Pentax that I just did the review on. That lens, I think out the door was $30 to me. I believe it was the total price. I think it was $25 for the lens and $5 shipping. I think it come from California, but I have a metric ton of those things right over there. I ought to do something with them, maybe do giveaways on the channel or something, but I have a bunch of lenses that I don't use. I mean, some of them take reasonably good photos, but I have my favorites, and because of that, I don't use them. Like there's that Sigma 28mm. It's like a little prime lens, little 28mm f2.8, I believe. It takes reasonably good photos. It's okay. It's not too bad. But I've got the 28mm AIS. Takes phenomenal photos. And I've even got the 28mm AI Nikkor. I don't use it hardly at all. Let's see what James says here. James Oliver says, my longest lens is the 135 f2.8. It's 30 years old. I think this is my longest lens, this 500mm, this 2-500 f5.6. I have the mirror lens, the 500mm mirror lens that I reviewed. It's over there in the cabinet. I actually like that lens. It's actually a great little lens. If you had a camera with IBIS, like I still have my Sony A7 II over there, and if I'm careful with it and I don't get real rough with it, it works. And we use it from time to time to do photos around here because it does take a good picture. But since it has image stabilization, sensor stabilization, excuse me, then that 500mm mirror lens, it generates that funky donut bokeh because it's a reflex mirror design. And once you stabilize the sensor, it actually works pretty well handheld. It works better off a tripod, but you know, you're manual focus, so you don't have a real high-speed focus situation going there. If you was going to be able to photograph wildlife, it'd need to be like elk grazing or maybe deer grazing in the edge of a field, or maybe beavers swimming around a beaver dam or something like that. You know, shooting birds in flight would be a challenge. You know, I probably wouldn't try that. That would be more frustration and exercise and frustration management than anything. Miss Amar, I thought you was going to make a video. Have you done shot the video and edited it? Good Lord. It takes me forever to edit a video. What are you doing different? Oh, you're shooting Canon. That's it. You're not shooting GoPro. But yeah, I mean, well, like, I have refined this GoPro rig. This is what I was gonna say was this GoPro, I bought this, I used to have a little blue machined aluminum cage for the GoPro, and it had built into it the thread interface for the variable ND filter. You can see, if I get this up here, you can see it getting dark and light. You can actually see the camera lens if I do it right about there. You know, you can see that variable ND. Worth its weight in gold when you're outside. But this one didn't have one. So what I wound up doing was you can buy a GoPro ND filter attachment. It's got little set screws it's supposed to have. You can't see them, but there's a little hole right here for a set screw. And you stick it on your GoPro and tighten down those set screws, and then you can add filters. And I took that, put it in the milling machine, opened up the hole so it would fit over this protrusion on this plastic cage, and then epoxy glued it to the cage so I could put my variable ND filter on this plastic cage, because what it has that the blue one don't is this housing to hold this little impedance matcher so you can run a microphone into your GoPro. The dumbest thing I have ever seen is that they didn't put this electronic circuitry inside of that camera. Worst idea ever. I'm sure they could have got it in there had their engineers actually done their homework. But this thing is very expensive and it's pretty fragile. That USB socket, mine's bent. I don't know if you can tell or not from looking at this angle, but it runs uphill right here because I've bent this thing because I've dropped it. And it's like $50. And they're routinely sold out. They routinely have problems with keeping them in stock. But, I mean, it works really well other than that. The microphone works superbly well. I love this little microphone for it, even though it doesn't have a battery in it, it's not powered, it has beautiful audio. But yeah, this little video camera rig works surprisingly well. And I can carry it in the airports and no one really gives it a second look. Even though it's got this light on it. I don't get a lot of, like if I'm on, whoops. I can take the light off and yeah, you do have the little bar sticking out, but it's, you know, it's a lot more compact. That was kind of dumb to do. But yeah, I even made my own special lock nut. Let me get the direct sun off of here. I knurled it in the lathe. I took a Allen bolt and threaded it completely through and then cut the bolt off to the right length to where, I'm trying to put it back together, to where it would fit through my little bar of aluminum and screw up into the tripod thread in the bottom of my light. And then I can break that loose and make my adjustments, tighten it down, it'll stay put. Yeah, love the video rig, works like a charm. And the video out of a GoPro is surprisingly good. Is it as good as a 1DX Mark II or a, a Panasonic Jet G9 or whatever? Probably not, but in linear mode, it shoots very nice looking footage, surprisingly nice, and the stability is uncanny. What kind of video cameras do you guys work with? Do y'all do any video at all or just still photos? The other day I shot a wedding. I didn't shoot the wedding. I videoed the wedding to make a, dang, gnat flew in my ear. It's bugging me. But I made one of those montage videos. Get behind the video, Satan. If I can, I'll ask Caleb and Danny which is, it doesn't sound like what you're thinking. It's Caleb and Danette is her name, but she goes by Danny. So, but I'll ask them if I can post these videos. I can't, come think of it. They have copyrighted music. They wanted them scored to country music. And it's like top 40 country, so I can't post them on YouTube at all. Sorry about that. I was going to share them with you if they let me, but I remember now why I haven't uploaded them already. They're scored to country music. One of them's like George Strait, and I don't even remember who the other one's to. But I learned a lot. I don't know if I told you guys this or not. You know, the songs are about 3.5 minutes long. I shot like 980 minutes of footage. It's all 1080p slow-mo. And, dude, it was like, I don't remember how many terabytes of video files I recorded. I think it was 1.25 terabytes. It was a lot of video. It was a lot, but maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but it was a bunch. I went through several memory cards. Maybe it was gigabytes. Yeah, 140 gigabytes. My bad. I take that back. But because I did have to change cards, because I had two 64 gig cards and I filled them both up, and I switched over because I was using them as overflow that day because I didn't have enough cards. So I went to 32 gigs after that, and then immediately I did take my computer with me that day, and I was offloading the cards and saving them to the hard drive, and then I kept the card as a backup as well. That's why I was switching cards. But I done it as like a wedding gift. It wasn't like I was hired to do this. They knew what they were kind of getting into when they asked me to do it. So, you know, I didn't really feel bad about the edit not being great. I thought they were pretty cool, but, you know, after you watch it through a time or two, you're like, man, I could have done that cut different, or I could have used a different piece of footage here, or, you know. Bass angler checked in. He come in to get a drink of water and smack Long Rider around a little bit. Well, I'll tell you, Amar was in here and he was talking some pretty heavy smack earlier. He called me David Lanier. So you might wanna take Amar out to the woodshed. Yeah. Scroll through the comments. You'll find it. It's in here. Yeah, there it is at 1,926 hours. David Lanier. Because I showed my video rig. And he saw this LED light panel I keep on it. And he said it was a Rotolight. And it's not. It's some kind of cheap knockoff version of a Rotolight I got off Amazon for like 15 bucks. He needs a lesson in long lenses. You know, but you kind of have to overlook those Canon shooters. You know, they just don't know. But I catch you up. We've been talking a little bit about, you know, we buy all this fancy hardware and equipment, and it just kind of sits. You know, I've got this 70 to 200. Yeah, they know it all. You know you're going to get sucked into this live stream, and you're going to forget about finishing cutting the grass if you don't hurry up. But yeah, I've got all this hardware, you know. There's the SB700. I love the SB700. It's a great speed light. You know, and radio triggers, and I hardly ever use this stuff. And it's like, are we gear collectors? Are we really? And I guess I am. You know, it's just, I guess that's the way it is. But it's kind of strange. But I was saying, that's why I went and got that little video rig. I use it more than pretty much any other camera in my arsenal. Is a stupid GoPro. I actually bought the GoPro, honestly, to shoot B-roll only. I was going to use it for those little quirky stick it in the tree trunk or in the wheel well of the car kind of shots. And that was what I was planning on doing with it. And then when I bought it, I just wanted a new GoPro because I had a Hero 3 and it was just shooting, the footage looked terrible. It just did. I don't know if it's because I had it set wrong or what, but my Hero 3 just took terrible video. And of course, I didn't have the little cage where you could video with it outside of the waterproof housing because, you know, back then all the GoPros came with the little weird housing and it has an odd audio. You have to shoot separate audio. So I was going to get a new one. Well, it had such good image stabilization, I thought I'll just try vlogging with it a little bit. And I'll be dadgum if it ain't my most favorite vlogging camera. Works like a dream. I use my iPhone as a monitor sometimes. If I want to get the shot kind of set up to where I'm in frame good and get the background where I like it and things like that, I'll use my iPhone as a monitor. I'll Wi-Fi into the GoPro. It works like a charm. The delay between the phone and the GoPro is only a quarter second or so. It ain't much at all. I really, really like it. And it's compact enough I can carry it with me. Yeah, I will. Yeah, he says if it works, use it. It's what Bass Angler just said. And that's the thing about it, is I can take 2 bags that you have to, you know, you're allowed 2 carry-ons, a personal item and a carry-on bag. So I'll carry, my camera gear is what I always carry, them 2 bags. I'll have a shoulder bag, it'll have snacks in it, usually like a change of clothes, in case I lose my luggage, things like that. And then I'll have my camera backpack on, that little Think Tank Streetwalker 2 or whatever it's called. That bag is just right for aircraft because it'll even fit in the overhead on the small commuter jets. I learned that lesson the hard way. But they'll let me carry this in my hand and I can walk right on without having to cram it into a camera bag. I can take this too. They don't give a crap. If it was a huge 1DX Mark II and, you know, the giant Gorilla Pod, I don't know if they'd say something or not, but I can walk that right on. They could care less. And I have a couple times. Works like a charm. But yeah, I really like it since I've got the new plastic housing. I don't think I saved any weight because I had to add all of this to it because the old one bolted straight onto the Arca Swiss mount. But it did cage up this impedance matcher for my microphone. It allowed me to get that tidied up to where I didn't risk, because it was just hanging by the wire with that other one. You run a real serious hazard of breaking that thing. And if you break it, I guarantee they ain't gonna warrant it. You're just gonna have to buy another one. What else was I gonna talk about today? Of course, we've seen Sony and Canon launch cameras, and Nikon has announced the development of the D6. They're gonna sell it. They're gonna come out with that thing. And I've seen a couple of YouTubers posting about it. Yeah, and they'll have it. You probably won't see it until, what is it that happens in February? Is that WPPI, the Wedding and Portrait Photographers International Conference? I think is what happens in February out in Las Vegas. Or is it CES, the Consumer Electronics Show? One of them 2 shows happens out in Vegas at the first of the year. I bet it don't hit the shelves until then, because the people that are speculating about it are saying they'll have it in time for the 2020 Olympic Games. And they're probably right. I'm figuring it'll probably come out about that time, and they'll coordinate the launch, and they'll put it in the hands of a bunch of Olympic shooters that shoot the Olympics, and you'll see it then real heavy. And they also launched a new, like a 120 to 300 millimeter f2.8 lens. It's literally this big, but 300 millimeter. 120 to 300 millimeter, and it's literally this big. You know, it's an enormous piece of glass. And I guarantee you, they're going to put them on them D6s, and they're going to send them to the Olympics with that 120 to 300 millimeter and a D6. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what they put in that D6 to make it appealing enough to get people to buy them. Because at this point, the D850 will do the work that a working pro needs to any level of capability that a working pro needs. I was talking to somebody recently about this, and it's supposed to have a bottomless buffer. Well, I mean, that's just video. You're capturing, 24 frames a second endlessly. Yeah, I can see that. At this point, when you can get literally a 64 or 128 gigabyte memory chip, and it's the micro SD. That's 128 gig on a little chip that big. You could stick 5 or 6 of those, solder them together, and put them inside of that ginormous camera, and have a terabyte of floating RAM in that camera. It could easily be done. I can see that happening by then. That way, you could shoot as many raw files as you want, and you could write them out of the buffer, and it'll probably have, what's the D850? You got XSpeed 6 processor in, I think. It probably run dual XSpeed 6 processors, like a Mathco processor kind of deal, where it can handle the data faster, and maybe XSpeed 7 or dual XSpeed 7 processors. And yeah, I can see it pumping them out to C-Fast cards or XQDs, or even, what people are talking about, going to solid state hard drives in the camera, and then you just download the camera at the end of the day through USB-C into your computer, and then or wireless transfer them to off-camera hard drive. It'll have wireless tethering. I can see all these things happening, because they're going to ask $6,000 or $7,000 for that thing, and that it's going to come with every bell and whistle they can shove in it, because that's their flagship. But I done got off on a tangent. The point I was making earlier was, I've been paying attention to working photographers, and I have been surprised at the cameras that a working pro will choose. They never choose the top of the line DSLRs or even mirrorless, even for that matter. They always get like D750s, D610s. I know a guy that shoots catalog work. He does a lot of product photography. Loves the D610 and the 70-200 f4. That's his preferred lens. And he has a Tamron 24-70, but it's a Tamron version. And those are his work tools. And he earns a good living with those 3 pieces of equipment. The D610, the 70-200 f4, and then that Tamron lens. I think he picked up the 40mm micro Nikkor for detail work. He uses that little 40mm macro lens for his detail shots. Point being is, he don't have a D850. He don't have a D5. They're buying the machines that get the job done. They're not even buying D800s. They're buying D750s and D610s. I've been seeing some photogs that are earning a living with D7200s. Yeah, D7050 is a workhorse of a machine. I see lots of Canon cameras. I'm listing the Nikons because I look for the Nikons, because I shoot Nikon. So I'm constantly looking for them. I've seen D5500s. Seriously. I seen a wedding photographer. He had his second shooter doing photos with a D5500 and the kit lens. And he was getting good photos with it. Blew my mind that they would use a D5500. Sure enough, they were using it. Wife still uses D610 and fast glass. That's what C2C Disciple says. Yeah, they ain't nothing wrong with a D610, especially if you're trying to earn a living with it. It's a great piece of machinery. Tech Assist says most of the pros he knows all use DSLRs because that's the equipment they know, and they can rely on it because it has a proven track record, because reliability is king. That's what he said. And there's truth to that. It does have known history. And even with my limited experience, and because I've not owned a lot of cameras. I've got the D810. I had a D7000 before that. Both of them work great. I fell for the hype. I should never have bought the D810, just to tell you the truth. I like the camera, but I fell for the full frame hype. It's the only reason I bought it. My D7000 was working perfectly when I sold it. There was nothing wrong with that camera, taking beautiful photos. So I've had them two, a D40X, that's down in the machine shop. I still use it to do product photography. The XT3 and that A7 II. And I've got them D200s I bought for like $100 a piece. Well, actually, one was free because it don't work. It's got issues. It'll work, and then it won't work. And then it'll work, and then it won't work. There's something electrically wrong with that camera, but the other one works fine. That's the one I let Sierra use when we went to Philadelphia and we done our street photography in downtown Philly. I took the D200 with that 18 to 200 millimeter zoom. That way she has a whole bag of lenses mounted to the camera. She had a blast with it. And that little camera takes a really good image. But that's all the cameras I've ever owned. I've never owned anything but Canon. And like my only experience with Sony is that A7 II, and the sensor locks up on it from time to time. It's frustrating. He says, Tegasys says, in London, a lot of wedding photographers use the D4. That's interesting, because it's a nice camera. Of the pro bodies that I have seen personally, D3 is an S. That's the one I've seen the most. Bass Angler says he thinks the 90D will be awesome. And he's also going to stick around. You're probably going to stick to that D500 for the time being, especially since you can get them for nothing. Has a D810. C2C Disciple says he has the D810, but the workhorse is the D610. I like my D810. It's a great machine. I'm backing up. I'm reading the comments because they kind of started going by pretty quick. Yeah, I think we're caught up on all that data. You have a D7200 as well? Huh. I thought you were shooting with a D500. D500 is an awesome machine, and so is the D7200. I think the D7200 was listed recently as the best bang for the buck DSLR Nikon ever made. Okay. The D7200 is an awesome camera. The D7000 I had supposedly had some issues, but I don't remember it ever giving me problems in my images. But people said that they had issues with the D7000s, but the D7100, all that went away. But I don't know, because I've never owned anything past that one. I got the D810 and it's still working, so I don't have any reason to get a different one. If you just had deeper buffer, get faster cards. At least that's what Tony Northrup says. Yeah, well, you're shooting birds in flight, so you want to capture a bunch of different frames in a row. But somebody sent me some photos the other day. Who was it? Somebody shared photos with me or with the group that I'm a part of, and there was a picture of a duck, and it was taking off, or it was landing. I think it was landing, and it was just a beautiful image of this bird frozen right the moment before it touched the water. It was a beautiful image. I really liked that image. But I could tell that you would have to be like out there a lot to finally get that shot. That's just not something you're going to go out one morning and grab a photo and then come back, drink coffee, and eat a chicken and biscuit at McDonald's. You got to spend your time paying your dues, or you're not going to get that photo. But yeah, the gear, as I do this more and more, the point I was trying to say was, the more I do this, the more I realize I have a lot of stuff that I don't use, you know. There's just so much equipment. I'm going to have to back that dadgum light up some more. Now that the sun's went down and this window's gotten dark, this light right out of frame here is really overexposing me. And how do you turn the light down when it's all the way already down on 10%? You move it back some more. There, now I'm not overexposing quite so bad. So what's some of the things y'all have bought that you shouldn't have? Looking back on it, equipment that you didn't need that you did buy. Inverse square law. Yep, that's what I just used. Because I think it's all the way down. Yeah. Yeah, it's on 10%. So it won't go any lower. It's a great little LED panel. Oh, it's only going to hit midnight now. We struck 11 earlier. Excuse me. It's been hot in the machine shop. We've been making a lot of parts for industrial clients, and like I made some special gauges today to really just gotta sing a song now. Just give me a second. I don't know if y'all can hear this thing. It's playing this song. All right, it's done. Okay. It's really annoying me. The 24 millimeter D, they didn't get that lens fixed by the time they got to the D series. Because I've got the AI, and AI is just terrible. And it's bizarre because the 24 mil AI is a horrible lens. The 28 millimeter AIS is like the best engineered lens Nikon ever made. I may have a bad copy. It was used. Yeah. Oh, now this one's talking. 8 o'clock. But that, I don't use that 24. I was going to do a review on it, and I don't know if I can bring myself to do it, but I probably need to just so people know the results that it generates. Because it has a lot of issues with chromatic aberration. That purple fringing is pretty bad with that 24 I have. But it's supposedly a pretty common problem with the lens in general. It's like Nikon was in a hurry or something that day and just didn't finish it. It's like it's half-baked. But what I was saying about the shop is I should have took a photo of them. Kind of feel stupid now because I didn't. I hurried up and delivered them, so I done. They wanted alloy steel gauges to measure tube steel with to make sure that it was within spec, because they make square welded seam tube steel, structural tubing down here, and they wanted some just ring gauges you could slide over the tube to make sure it would fit, to make sure it wasn't too big. And I finally got them made today and took them down there, but I milled those monsters out in the middle of the machine. Went through a whole bunch of turning inserts. Milled a bunch of plates for some splash guards. Just spent all day in front of a milling machine. Let's see what it takes. Well, really that bad. But you know, Bass Angler is saying he may have a bad copy. And that's a thing, because that 58 millimeter f1.2 Canon lens I bought the other day, yeah, I bought a Canon lens. It's an FL mount, or FD mount. It's this little twist locky thing. It's old, but I got it in the light right. I was taking some test photos with it, and they looked okay, but they weren't all that sharp. Oh, excuse me. I don't know what's happened. It's like I've run out of oxygen. But it's well, I got it. I was looking at it in the sun yesterday or today, and I think it's got fungus in it. mold or fungus, I can see some spots down on the internal element. So, and I think someone has already been into that lens because, like I was saying in my other video, one of the screws isn't right. It's got like a little Phillips screw in it. And yeah, that I need. Some more espresso. It's right over there. Just might do that. but I think someone's already tried to clean the internal elements. I may attempt the UV light trick where you put it in front of a UV light and it supposedly kills the fungus and mold, but I don't know. It looks like it's got something going on with it, so I really don't know if I'm going to review that particular one. May hunt me another one because I like that f1.2, but dude, that's a lot of aperture. I mean, it's a full stop over f2, isn't f1.2? f1.8, 16, 14 is a full stop from 2. So I think f1.2 is a third of a stop because it goes f1, 1, 2, 4. That's the next stop is f1 to f1.4, I think. I'd have to look at the chart again. I believe that's how it works, but it's enormous. It's got a huge rear element on a 58mm lens. I had high hopes, but I ain't give up completely. Really? What do you do with, okay, old copper coins in a towel in the microwave acts as a fungicide? Interesting. Well, I know the copper is a fungicide. Oh, Texas says he was looking for a 24mm for APS-C so he can get the 35mm look. All right, that makes sense. Maybe the AIS lens is in better shape. I'm right here, going to this endless vault of primes. I think right here. Which in APS-C, this lens might work fine for you. Because here's a 24mm f2.8. I believe it's f2.8. Yep, f2.8. Is this the one with the damaged filter ring? No, this one's got a good filter ring on it. But it's actually a really nice lens. I just touched the stupid thing and got a fingerprint on the front element. Probably see it. But since you're APS-C operating it, you're cutting the center out anyway. You know, you're just using the best part of the glass. That lens may work fine for you. The 24s are pretty cheap because they have that reputation. You might can score an AIS lens on eBay pretty easily. I haven't even looked because I was going to mess with this one. But mine come with a, let's see what's going on here. Is this a filter of what kind? Let's see. It comes with an adapter ring, and I think this is a UV filter. Yeah. A Quantaray UV filter to protect this amazing lens. It came with that. You know, and you can see they got a step ring on it so that it doesn't give you vignetting. Oh, here comes Maxim. He said, this lens is designed in 1964. It ain't going to be up to the task of resolving a high-resolution sensor. You might be pleasantly surprised. They could grind some really, really fine detailed glass back then, which this particular lens probably won't. But if you're shooting video, Max, when you leaving? It's about trip time, isn't it? Oh, it's time for the evening walk. But you know, they were making the Corona spy satellites, and they were taking photos from orbit with Kodak cameras that had insanely good resolution. So they had the skill then. It's just whether or not they were willing to put it in there. He's going to Canada. I just realized that it moves the front element in and out to focus. It's not quite a full half a turn. It's only about 160, 170 degree rotation focus throw. That ain't bad. A lot of times they'll be 180 degrees. Yeah, this one's only about 160 or so. But I haven't tried this lens yet. I put it on, like I said, I put it on D810. It looked terrible. It just had a lot of purple fringing. It was sharp enough, from what I could tell. But then again, I wasn't looking in the corners. I don't really a lot of times worry about the corner sharpness because typically I'm trying to make that part blurry anyway. A lot of people stress over corner sharpness. You'll see, that's another thing you'll see old Casey over at Camera Conspiracies doing. He'll how's it look? Does it look good? He'll do that crap. How's it over here? Yeah. This is how I vlog now. I do it like this. Don't worry about that corner. He's like, I don't ever use a corner. What's that? What's that crap about? September 20th. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I like this video today. I watched this video about a Canon cripple hammer come out and broke his neck, killed him. But, yeah. I appreciate you guys logging in and putting up with me. We have run almost 100 minutes on this live stream. It has went on a lot longer than I thought it would for just such a simple subject I started out with. You know, I was just going to talk about basically why is it that we always seem that we need, we got to buy equipment that we think we need and then we never use it. And like I was saying, I bought this lens and I've used it probably a grand total of about 6 times. Maybe a few more, but it's probably less than 10, seriously. I shot flowers with it once, and I've shot a bunch of surfers in Hawaii with it, and that's about it. You're right, we didn't talk about my subject much. It wandered down rabbit holes pretty quick. And these live streams usually do that. They're normally self-evolving conversations, which is kind of fun. What's it say here? I basically use my Z. But my 2 to 500, yeah. See, I told you you'd get sucked in bass angler and you wouldn't make it back out. Oh, and that 100mm Tokina. I still don't have one of those. But you know what I do have? You should see this table's covered in gear. No. This one. I have this little gorgeous gem. I don't know if it's reversed in the live stream, but for me, the video screen, it shows it backwards, but it says Honeywell Pentax. This is the 100mm macro lens. This thing is phenomenal. Since you normally manual focus your macro shots anyway, this thing is incredible. This is the one I keep in my camera bag. Here's what's cool about it. It's M42 mount. It's just a straight thread-on adapter. Yeah. And it's mounted. Got a nice little aperture ring, positive click. The focus. Yeah, it grows a little bit when you do macro with it. And it's got the numbers up here are your reproduction ratio. It tells you basically 2 to 1 all the way around to 25 to 1. It's pretty neat. But I bought this one based on another viewer's recommendation to get into some Pentax glass. That's why I have this lens. And my lens bag is literally an old sock out of the, you know, you always seem to have a laundry basket full of onesies where they've lost their friend. That's where this sock came from, and it became a lens bag. I have 3 or 4 of them I keep in my camera bag. It's the easiest way I know to keep these lenses from getting beat up. I just drop them in a sock and roll it up around it and throw them in the lens bag. And yeah, it just adds a layer of protection. Keeps from scuffing the finish up and beating them up. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't do a whole lot other than that, but yeah, that's what I use them for. It's either that or wash a car with them. But yeah, I like that little macro lens. But I also have the heavy hitter. I have the 200mm f4 micro Nikkor. Another lens I haven't used in quite some time. And I've been planning to do a review on. I haven't gotten around to it. I did use it in the micro lens shootout video. I got it out that day and used it for that. But I don't remember if I put an extension tube on it. Yeah, I'd be interested. If you're offering to buy it, you need a 200mm micro Nikkor macro lens. I don't use it. It just sits. I've got it in a Pelican case in the bedroom, so it don't get beat up. I bought mine second-handed, so it didn't come with the box. I don't have the box. I don't have. Supposedly there was a couple other accessories it didn't come with. I don't remember what it was. Like there was a lens hood. I didn't get the lens hood. All right. But I don't use it. I need to shoot the video of the review of it first. Well, at least I can have the video in my archive of lens review videos. But I carry this one now because it's smaller and lighter. And it fits in my little camera bag. Yeah. But yeah. When I started simplifying life, and this is the most complicated video camera I'm willing to buy. And it's pretty complicated when you start looking at it. I broke it down into all its little components one day and done like a layout shot. There's a bunch of pieces to put this together, but it actually isn't all that much to it. You have a riser, which is just a little ball head that I had left over from some other piece of junk. It's a really super little cheap ball head, but it elevates the mic to get it above the lens. Then you have the Rode Micro that comes with its own little thing, with its own little cord. You have the variable ND, you have the cage, the light, the homemade light mount on the homemade Arca Swiss plate, the Arca Swiss mount. Titanium? No, ain't no titanium in this. This thing's cheap. This is all aluminum. Aluminum actually is lighter than titanium. A lot of people don't realize that. What titanium has over aluminum is better fatigue life and better strength to weight ratio. Aluminum is strong, but titanium is way stronger. Aluminum has issues with fatigue, where if you flex it or vibrate it, it will crack internally and break. Yeah, it's because it's all in the raw. I just didn't paint it or anything. That's why it looks like it. But the beauty of aluminum is it's 20% lighter than titanium. If you measure the weights against the weight of average steel, 1018 mile steel, and call that like 100%. You know, 1 pound, a 1 pound block of mild steel, however big that 1 pound block is. If you make a block of titanium, it'll weigh 0.55 pounds. It'll weigh 55% of steel. And aluminum will weigh 45% of steel. So aluminum is literally like 8/10 the weight of titanium. Aluminum's light. That's why everybody uses it in their projects. It's light. And it's strong. I mean, for that little rig, I'll never have a problem with that setup. It'll never give me issues. Aluminum's a wonderful metal if used in the right application, but it just isn't as strong or as durable as titanium. That's the only thing that it has over aluminum. It's harder to machine. I hate machining titanium. We use it a lot. Oh yeah, it's let's see, if you was comparing like 6L 4V titanium to 1018 mild steel, it's probably 6 or 10 times stronger by weight. You can make the same size bar out of 6LV 4V titanium, grade 5, and it would probably fail at 10 times the weight that an equivalent bar of 1018 mild steel would. It's insanely strong. It's shockingly strong. So much so that you would think this can't possibly be enough. And it is. It's incredible how strong it is. That's how you can get something so light with it. It's so strong you use a lot less of it. You can make the parts thinner and smaller, or you don't have to hydraulic tubing in fighter jets is made out of titanium tubing, and they can make the walls like 20 thousandths of an inch thick, and it'll hold back like 3,000 psi. It's insanely strong. That's why they use it in fighter jets a lot of times, is because of it's insanity how strong it is. Yeah, I have screws in my ankle that are made out of titanium. That's how they put my ankle back together. They're still in there. They don't set off the metal detector in the airport. We checked. Yeah. I've seen pressure vessels with 020 wall hold back 58,000 psi. No. I'm wrong. 8,000 psi. Yeah. I've seen it 1 inch with a 20,000th wall, 1 inch tubing, and it's rated for 3,000 psi. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's just crazy how strong it is. It weighs nothing because you can make it so thin. But it is brittle. It'll break before it bends a lot. You don't get to bend it much before it breaks. To where aluminum is kind of malleable and you can bend it. It can't be bent many times before it breaks, but you can form it. To where titanium doesn't like to be formed. It wants to be forged. Forged titanium is pretty awesome. It likes to be extruded. Once you form it at the mill, it likes to be machined. It doesn't mind being welded, but bending it is not happy. It's not real happy with being bent. It wants to break. It's kind of strange. But I don't use it in my projects because it's hard to machine. You have to use cobalt impregnated high-speed steel to machine it, or carbide. And a lot of times our drill bits they'll be high-speed steel, and high-speed steel will literally just melt. It will not drill it. Even if you just turn the RPM down to ridiculous, it's so aggressive, it'll just dull the drill bit. I've seen it do it so many times. Every time you get a new guy, he immediately melts a drill bit in it. It's like it's a rule or something. Yeah, sometimes they are. If it's a 1 inch drill, $150 drill bit, over trying to grind a point back on it, and the sparks in the middle are coming off red, and the sparks on the end are coming off bluish white because it's got titanium impregnated in it from where it melted it. You got to just keep grinding it off until that bluish white crap goes away. Till you remove that, it ain't gonna never cut right. I've sharpened a 1 inch drill and a 7/8 drill, 1 1/16 drill, bunch of times to get rid of that garbage. We try to buy the cobalt drills. You can buy high-speed steel with cobalt alloying. They call them. You see them at the store, and it'll say the word cobalt. That they dope the alloy with cobalt, and it makes it so much more durable, like probably 6 or 10 times more durable. So it makes it a lot harder, and it still retains most of the toughness of high-speed steel. So it makes a really good bridge tool between high-speed steel and carbide. We use a lot of cobalt drill bits because of that. Oh, the titanium inserts you're using are not titanium cutting tools. They're titanium aluminum nitride treated. It's some kind of special treatment. It looks purplish black or purplish gold A lot of times, the gold is titanium nitriding, but the titanium aluminum nitriding has this dark purplish kind of color to it, and that crap is tough. That's a wear finish that you can't hardly rub off. You'll break the base metal, the tungsten carbide base metal will chip before you'll wear through that normally. It's insane how good that stuff works. We literally had a 3/4 inch end mill that was dull that we put in a horizontal milling machine and used it for 6 more months with like a corner broke off of one flute, and it was trashed. And we done all kinds of rough machine work with it, truing up crap and just machining off metal that didn't need to be on a block or a plate or something. And we'd get aggressive with the feed rates, just trying to break it. And I think we ran it for about 6 months before we finally broke it, milling some kind of big hunk of metal on a big horizontal mill. And it just keeps shaving off metal. And because it was that TALCN carbonitride, man, it was aggressive. But yeah. But I like doing them little projects for the camera gear. I thought about setting up, and the one you sent me is still on the agenda, the little gimbal deal. We haven't given up on it. We just haven't gotten down to it yet. We're getting there, though. They're getting a couple of little projects out of the way that are we have a little chart, and everything goes on its in an order. And once we get down to that, we're gonna look at it real hard and see how much it's gonna take to actually put one of them together. We're curious because I think there's room to work in that. That's an item I'd be interested in trying to do something with. And I'm thinking about using titanium to make that, but that way it'll be light and ball bearings. And I see how it locks off and all the axes. I believe I can come up with locks that'll be pretty simple. Yeah, and titanium tubing that we would make it out of, we can TIG weld that to like blocks on the ends of the tube so that you have a big hollow section and you don't have to machine all that away. So you save time and tooling without having to machine it, and you can TIG weld it to where you can make the L shape. And yeah, I think we can do that pretty easily. I really do. And I see that it just don't look complex. It looked pretty simple, honestly. And I see they had a real long Arca Swiss base, so you can slide your camera rig back and forth till you get the center of gravity right, so where it kind of neutral balances. I see the point, seeing what all was happening there. And well, like I said, it's down the spreadsheet a little ways, but it ain't gone. It's coming. Yeah, I saw that too. Really? Nice. We thought about trying to make ball heads, but Manfrotto has that sewed up. Man, you can buy such nice ball heads from them for just nothing. And then you got the Really Right Stuff guys. They make a really nice ball head system. So I've basically decided not to try to make ball heads at this point, because to break into that market, you'd have to have something groundbreaking. You just would, to make it where people would want to look at it. It just had to be phenomenal, you know? And it'd be hard to come up with something that just really blows it away past what the Really Right Stuff guys are doing. Because to make the cheap ball heads, I can't compete. You know, they're casting them things out of aluminum. I mean, like this little thing on this here. That little ball head right there. You know, you can't make these come out. You just can't. You got to make the really high end ones, because that's just that's the only place where there's any room to work. Gimbals, yeah. I ain't, the whole servo gimbal thing, I ain't interested in fooling with that. I thought about it for a while, but I talked myself out of it. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the ones like we're looking at. Yeah. I thought you was talking about the electronic gimbals like you see people mounting their DSLR on. Yeah, that thing there, I can see that, and I can also see I had something else in my head I was going. Oh, the Arca Swiss mounts, because there's certain ones you can buy, but then there's times when there's certain ones I want that you can't get. And why hasn't anyone thought to make one that emulates a cage? Okay, for instance, why isn't there an Arca Swiss base that has an arm that comes out to where you can have a 1/4 stud to mount your microphone, like this little Rode Video Micro, so that you got the, whatever brand that camera is, where the screen flips up to the top. You know, there's a couple of them out there. And if you mount the mic in the hot shoe, then it's in the way of the screen. Well, if you just made an Arca Swiss mount that had an arm that came out with some 1/4 holes drilled and tapped in it, you could mount that mic out to the side, and then you wouldn't be occluding your screen. Plus, you have an Arca Swiss rail, so you can mount it to your tripod easily. It kind of surprised me that no one had done that. You know, it's just simple stuff like that. I believe there's a lot of interesting things to be done with Arca Swiss that people aren't doing. It just kind of surprised me when I didn't see anything like that. Or maybe where you can screw a rod into the side of the Arca Swiss and it bring out a rod that you can maybe screw a little plate on that has the cold shoe on it, so that you could mount like this little light I got. You could stick it on there, you know, to where maybe it has a wing nut that locks it on, that you can just run rods in. That way they're smaller and lighter. All sorts of things like that no one does it. And I don't know if it's because no one needs it or no one's thought of it. You know? Because it's really hard to come up with something new that someone hasn't already invented that's a machine. You don't see many new mechanical inventions anymore, for good reason. There's only so many ways to kill something. Make it and start a Kickstarter campaign. It works for Peak Design. Yeah, they have mastered the whole Kickstarter thing. I got to give them credit where credit's due. I got several Peak Design items. I like their stuff. I got their messenger bag. I like it really well, and I've got one of their camera slings, and I like it okay. I'm kind of on the fence with the way it attaches to the camera, but it's a good strap all in all. I like the fact that it has quick adjust length, but it's got these little tiny like split ring things that are kind of D-shaped that you thread onto the little holes on your camera, and then you hook those little quick release cord deals in them. Then you snap your sling on it. Well, those little split rings, if you ain't real careful, they'll work their way around to where you're only pulling on one of the wires and it'll bend it. Yeah, the Timba. I've got as far as Timba backpacks go, this is the only Timba backpack I have, and it's it's fairly small. I like this one because I didn't have a little one because I wanted a little one, but it does have the access through the back, and the top compartment isn't reachable through the back. They're separate sections, and then this front pack is like where you put your notebook and pens and crap. But this little pack works really well. I like this one a lot. It's not something I would travel with. It's just too small because you really can't put enough stuff for travel in it. But I like it for like if I'm just going out doing street or something, because I can carry a snack, notebook, pen, whatever. You know, an extra lens maybe. You know, right now it's got that X700 Minolta in it and a few rolls of film. Max and I have the one you can put a body in. It's enormous, huh? I bought that one on the spur of the moment up in Knoxville at F32 Camera. There's a really nice camera shop in Knoxville, Tennessee called F32, and they are the quintessential camera store. They make all their money on prints. They do a lot of prints, and like they have computers out front where people can come in and do enlargements and printing their own images. And then they have camera gear, and they rent a lot of gear. They have a huge rental area that they rent lenses and camera bodies and such from. But they have like a bunch of new stuff in the cabinet, and they have a crap ton of tripods and backpacks and filters and all the little widgets. Bass Angler signing off. But it's a real nice camera store. And I try to go in there every time I'm up there. Yeah, you better go. Thank you for checking in, Bass Angler. I appreciate it. Yeah, Johnny Come Lately Backpacks and won't sponsor Timba because Timba won't give them free backpacks. And that's probably the truth. I bought this one. It was kind of pricey, but it's a good backpack. Peak straps. Wife hates hers, but uses clutch. I use the Timba Messenger and Think Tank backpacks. Yeah, I got the Think Tank photo. It's called the Streetwalker 2, I believe. And then I've got the Airport Security 2.0 roller bag. But I've learned the hard way that the Airport Security, even though it has little locks built into it and all that crap, won't fit in the overhead on commuter jets. I've been fortunate enough all the times I've flown that the stewardess would give me space in a little cubby up at the front of the commuter jet up there where the coffee station is. They've got like a little broom closet, and she'll actually put it in there and it'll fit in there. They've been gracious enough to not make me do the valet check with it. So once I got through that about twice, I learned my lesson. I went and bought that Streetwalker backpack, and it will fit in the overhead. As I measured the overhead, I wanted to make sure that whatever I bought would fit the next time I bought one. So I literally measured the overhead, and then I measured backpacks till I found one that would work, and that's what I come up with. I like it too. The only thing I don't like about it is it only opens from the front, so you have to lay the side that's against your body down on the surface you lay it on to get in it. That's what I like about that Timba over it, is the fact that it lays down face out, and the section that's against your body is the part you can unzip and access. To me, that's a big deal because I go out in inclement weather. And if you set your pack down to get in it and you get mud all over it, or you get leaves and sticks and twigs, you just put them all over your clothes, and now your shirt's nasty and wet or whatever. And that's the only thing I don't like about that Think Tank bag, is that it doesn't have rear access. It's kind of a drag, but the rest of it I love. I use it like, matter of fact, it's packed right now. That's what I've been going back and forth getting crap out of all evening. I really like that pack. And it's, and Think Tank Photo makes durable gear too. I mean, it's tough gear. I put off buying one of them for a long time. I used to have a big Vanguard shoulder bag that I carried everything in for years. And then I finally broke down and bought this roller bag from Think Tank that's got, I keep my D810 and all that stuff in it. I really like it because it's got the little pull-out handle. It's an airport bag, but it's real handy. Timba has been making photo backpacks since the early 70s, so they should know something about how to design one. Wow. Yeah. Now, I gotta admit, Peak Design apparently took lessons from Timba, because you can get into your Peak Design bag through the zipper slot in the top. Matter of fact, there's a D200 in here. Yeah, you can access it from the top and get in here and do what you need. I'll lay that down. But then of course it's got the waterproof zippers. I like this bag a lot. I didn't got a fold in it, but you can see it's seen a lot of miles. This has been I've used this bag a lot. I mean, one of the rivets come out of it. I hung it on something, pulled one of the rivets out of it. But yeah, it's a well-made pack. It's starting to show its age a little bit here and there. There's some wear on some of the hardware. It looks cool to me though. It's a place to put your keys so you don't lose them. But yeah, I like this pack. This little shoulder bag is great. I keep all them bags out in the corner of the living room because I'll rearrange what I'm doing to figure out what I'm going to do that day, and I'll pack it all in the bag I want. Then I'll just shove everything else in the other ones and then stack them up. Wow. Interesting. I don't even know how to pronounce that. But yeah, all of my shoulder bags and stuff are in that Peak Design Everyday Messenger. I got the little Timba, and I got the Think Tank Air Street Walker, and then the Think Tank Photo Airport Security. And I've got an old, I think it's a Vanguard brand shoulder bag. Like I said, I carried for years before that that's in there. That had the D7000 in it, and then it had the D810 in it before I got this one. And I would carry it on trips, and I couldn't get it in the overhead every time because it's a pretty big bag. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was. Even though it's a shoulder bag, it was big. So that's why I started trying to scale it to where it would fit on aircraft, because we started flying more. But now I'm just trying to scale down everything to where I ain't carrying all these giant pieces of equipment everywhere I go. Minimize the amount of gear. Uh-oh. Let's see. See what it says. Huh. I've used it all. See if I can. It's too bright. 0. I've ran it completely dead, powering my phone through this live stream. All right. We can unplug that. Well, we've went a little over 2 hours, guys. I'm gonna have to log off of here because I've got to pick up all this stuff. The women will be home for long. I don't need to have this big mess everywhere when they get here. But I've really enjoyed the live stream tonight, guys. It's been great having you guys on. Appreciate all the time you spent with me. I really have. I've got some really cool videos coming up in the not too distant future. You know, they're themed like me. It's about subjects I'm interested in, so hopefully they'll be interested in you too. Thank you, Max. I appreciate you checking in tonight. Thank you, C2C Disciple. I appreciate that. I appreciate it a lot. But with that, this is David, the Georgia photographer. And if you haven't heard me say it yet, get your camera out and go take a picture with it. Thank you, Tech Assist. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.